Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Inside Sports Talk with your host, Joanna Roselli. And I am joined with my amazing co host, Ed Cole. How are you tonight? Ready for another awesome show tonight?
Yes, good evening. Here I am, Joanna. I came right from back behind stage. I had to make I was in the green room waiting for you to do the intro. Then here I come. I'm on stage.
Yes. So,
This is
how is
how
this?
this show is going to start off, right?
Yes. So, how's the heat treating you, Ed? We're,
It,
of course, for those who don't know, we are in Arizona in the desert. It is a dry heat, but we're already hit over those three digit temps, and
I'm fine. I'm staying inside under the cool air, like I'm sure you are, and everybody else who knows what to take care of when it comes to the Arizona heat. You stay inside, stay in the air. But the biggest concern for me is my chickens. We have to make sure that they're cool and they've got water and they've got food and so we're taking care of them. We water the grass to make sure they have some cool grass, some cool ground to keep their feet warm, to keep their feet cool and everything. But it's all about our chickens because they are our babies and they are our producers. So we have to take care of our girls.
yeah. So I hope you're keeping them nice and cool, getting them some ice and whatever it is they need to have them not feel the heavy temperatures. I
Yes.
trying to stay indoors as much as possible. However, it's still not liking it and still have to go outside from time to time.
It's unbearable, but you're right. Just go outside as quick as possible and then get back inside under the AC.
Yes, indeed. So today we'll go ahead and be talking a little bit of soccer for our listeners. We'll talk a little bit Cristiano Ronaldo as he has made history in Europe. We will talk a little bit about situation with over the weekend that happened with one of the soccer players as well in out in Europe with the Denmark team. UEFA is under fire for that situation and how that was handled. We'll go ahead and dig deeper into the MLB crackdown for foreign substances, and we'll be talking, of course, nonetheless, can not leave this out with the NBA playoffs going on right now. As we speak, we have the Nets and the Bucks facing off at the moment on the road to the finals. So we'll go ahead and dabble in a little bit on that with our special guest who will be joining us, Jose Romero, sports writer for the Arizona Republic, here in the second half of our show. So, but to lead it off, let's go ahead and talk a little bit Cristiano Ronaldo. Ed, he has become the all-time Euro top scorer. He is with Portugal. He has been to 11 Euro finals now, and that was in today's win, 3-0 against Hungary. So, have you seen this guy play, Ed? I don't know if you know how closely you follow, if anything, soccer. I'm a bit of a soccer head and try to catch it as much as I possibly can. And I totally missed this match. I heard about it on the radio earlier today. This guy is just a beast and an alien. I don't know. He's out of this world. If you have not seen this and if you are a soccer fan, I highly recommend, or you're in touch in any type of soccer, go see this guy play. He just keeps getting better and better each year.
What he did today, getting 2 goals, and you mentioned in that 3-0 victory over Hungary. So that's 11 goals in his 5th tournament appearance. That's unbelievable. He's been to the Euros 22 times, I believe. So for Ronaldo, it's what he does on a game-by-game basis. All he does is go out and produce. He's one of the greatest players, one of the greatest soccer players ever. I'm not the biggest soccer fan. I'm not a soccer head like you are, but I do follow it in passing. But I do know I do know Ronaldo's name, and I know excuse me, of his pedigree and what he's done over his career, and he's amazing. One of the best to ever do it.
Yes. So, and we have, of course, here throughout Europe, we have all the different tournaments that are happening. He's been with Juventus. I don't even know how many seasons now. He's just been phenomenal there as well. We have the World Cup just around the corner here in about a year and a half or so as well. And I just delighted to see him play anytime he's out on the soccer field. field, excuse me, and he just keeps racking up those stats year after year. It doesn't matter who he's with, whether it's in the national stage, whether it's in the world stage, or even something more locally. As far as the Europe portion of it goes, but I just have to, applaud him for everything that he has done and everything still yet to accomplish.
I'm glad you set me up for that goal by you saying about his numbers. So I'm gonna play Ronaldo on this, and I'm gonna score by saying that he's, as you talk about numbers, he's got 106 goals and 176 appearances for Portugal, and he's the only man to score in 5 European Championship tournaments. That extended his own record. So he's just making record upon record on his own. So what more can the man do? So what he can do, the record of international goals is Ali Day. I know I said that wrong. He's Iranian, so he's got 109 international goals. The record is Christine Sinclair of Canada with 186 goals. So he's got a lot of work to do to get to 187 goals if he wants to hold the all-time record. But my goodness, at that scoring pace, he could do it.
Yes, he's only 4 goals away from passing Ali Day, and he can very possibly become the international high-scoring player in ever in history.
Absolutely.
So definitely be keeping an eye on him here in the next several games that he does play, and have him break, some more breaking stats and making history.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
He is must-watch TV when Portugal is on and he's on the pitch. Yeah, you better watch Ronaldo. I may actually start getting more into soccer because of a guy like him, and I know that you like it, so I have to be able to keep up with you as far as my soccer knowledge. Now that I know we're going to start talking soccer.
Well, you have Europe, you have Bundesliga, you have the other cups that are going on right now, the American side of it too, and then you have the World Cup. So there's a lot to keep up with, Ed, with soccer. Okay. I don't know, your head will probably spin with how much soccer goes on year round, and it's like literally it's nonstop year round.
Wow. Yeah, my head would spin. It would just pop right off. All the soccer.
And keeping it on with soccer and someone who's, likes to and enjoys the game, but when it comes to a certain situation, and right now, who is spinning right now, and it's under fire, as mentioned at the beginning of the show, is UEFA. With just sadly to say this, and I have not watched the video, I've heard of it, and just even thinking and speaking of this just makes my, gives me goosebumps of it to just even know. And I've seen it happen in the past, and I don't know if there's any way that can be avoided or anything that the leagues can do differently. But there was a player, his name escapes me right now, Ed, but he went down on the field, out in the soccer field, and he was, they said pretty much he did not have life. He was not, he was practically dead for a moment until they came out and were able to revive him. And UEFA's getting heat for that because they resumed play just after they were able to go ahead and get him back, get him some treatment, get him some care.
And Joe, his name is Christian Eriksen.
Thank you, Christian Eriksen. And he's good. He's spoken. He has said that he's okay given the circumstance and the situation. But it hurts me and it pains me to see that occur. We, of course, know that any sport that you play is going to be, dangerous. And you are susceptible for something to occur, hopefully nothing as tragic as this. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on the way that UEFA handled this, them resuming play after, knowing that he was, I wouldn't say okay, but he was alive. I were to bring him back. Mm-hmm. What goes through your mind, Ed?
That that maybe they should not have resumed play. I mean, something like that. I saw the video, Joanna, and you don't want to watch the video. It was just awful the way he just fell and collapsed. One of his teammates was trying to pass him the ball, and he just collapsed and fell down on the pitch. And then they just kind of cut away, and they showed shots of the crowd, and everybody was just stunned. You know, people were crying in the stands. They were hugging each other. It was an emotional moment that we never want to see. I felt for Christian, as I'm sure everybody in that stadium and everybody that's watched the video and that supports this young man. That was just a sad thing to watch Erickson fall like that. And we just hope and pray that he's going to be better, get back to 100%, Joanna, so he can get back to the game of soccer, the sport that he loves. So many people love and adore him, because he's just one of those fantastic soccer players that unfortunately had a health scare, and we just hope he comes out of that. But the prevailing theme for me is, why even go on with the game when something like that happens? You got to cancel that thing. You got to postpone it or something and resume it. Yeah,
and that would be my initial thought and reaction would be, cancel the game. Why go on? A player just went down, just in a very bad situation that you do not want to be in and see. And Joe, I understand for them being under heat and no one being happy with that situation.
Right. So they did resume the game on Saturday, and Finland did win that game. So they did suspend the game, but it's like, does that really? How does that make you feel when they suspend it and then resume it? I mean, just cancel the game completely.
Yeah, just cancel it.
Yes. And in the big scheme of things, Joanna, it's all about his health and not about a soccer game. You're looking out for a human being's well-being over a soccer game. A soccer match means nothing if this young man is not healthy, or heaven forbid it should take a turn for the worst in his health condition.
Exactly. Which is why UEFA is under heat for such, decision. Mm-hmm. So, and totally understandable. And in my personal opinion, yes, I agree that they should not have resumed. They should just totally canceled it and just moved on from there. And maybe even, who knows, maybe even cancel the game or two following that as well, not just the one game.
Well, according to a statement, they said they decided to restart the match only after the two teams requested to finish the game. So the two teams came together and went to them and said, we want to continue this game. So,
but shouldn't the UEFA have the final say, yes or no, or have some type of protocol in such situation as this, saying, hey, when a player is down or in such a way that this happened, to mm-hmm. not resume play, to not continue the game, to not finish. Thank goodness, yes, he's okay. What if it would have been something more tragic?
Yeah, something more grave, like we don't even want to talk about what could have happened, the worst that could have happened. But yeah, they could have stepped in, Joanna, and said, we understand, we take into consideration what you guys want to do. You want to resume this game, but in the spirit of this, because of the severity of the situation with Christian and his health, let's go ahead and cancel this thing, because the most important thing is his health, not the match itself. There will be more soccer matches. This young man's health is of paramount concern.
Yes, and you said it. You want to look out for the player's health foremost, and that's something that really wasn't, and it doesn't seem like it was taken too gravely into consideration.
Yeah.
So, but another league that's under fire at the moment, and it's getting a lot of heat, a lot of backlash, and from players and fans and everyone involved, is MLB. So MLB will be cracking down on foreign substances beginning Monday. So
Mhm.
any pitcher that is caught or any player caught using any type of foreign substance will be suspended for 10 games. So
Wow.
that was released today and officially released. And then there's also, before we go ahead and go in further into this, Ed, there's a audio that we have that we'll go ahead and play for our listeners and our viewers here from Tyler Glasgow. Do you want to go ahead and cue that up, Ed, and we can go ahead and chime in after that audio?
Yeah, he's a pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. This audio is courtesy of Grace Remington. She's with WTSP. She's a sports anchor and reporter for CBS Tampa. This is courtesy of her audio. This is Tyler Glasnow talking about the MLB crackdown.
But I 100% believe that contributed to me getting hurt. No doubt, without a doubt. I think like it's ridiculous. Like I have used sticky stuff before. It's ridiculous that like it seems like this whole public perception of like, oh, it's just like select few of people. Like your favorite pitcher probably 50 years ago was using something too. Like if you felt these balls, how inconsistent they were, like you have to use something. So in the past, my like substance of choice is sunscreen and rosin. Like just nothing egregious, something to where I can get a grip on the ball so it doesn't feel dusty. But 2 starts ago against the Nationals, I went cold turkey, nothing. And before that start, I remember when all this stuff came out, I was talking to people and talking to doctors, and they were like, the thing that maybe MLB doesn't realize or that players don't realize is like, what is the injury, like, what is the prevention of, like, maybe it'll add to injuries. And in my mind, I was like, that sounds dumb. That sounds like an excuse a player would use to make sure he can use sticky stuff. But I threw to the Nationals with nothing. I don't use sticky stuff I don't use spider tack. I don't need more spin. I have huge hands. I spin the ball fine. I want grip. I did well against the Nationals, probably one of the best starts I had all year. I woke up the next day and was like, I am sore in places that I didn't even know I had muscles in. Like I felt completely different. I switched my fastball grip and my curveball grip. I've thrown it the same way for however many years I played baseball. I had to put my fastball deeper into my hand and grip it way harder. And I had to, instead of holding my curveball at the tip of my fingers, I had to dig it deeper into my hand. So I'm like choking the shit out of all my pitches. My cue I used to use with Snyder was hold the ball like an egg, like nice and loose, be loose. That's out of the window. So I now have to develop a new cue. I have to develop something where I can't hold the ball light anymore. I have to dig it deep into my hand. So I'm taking it, and you have to think, I'm not a doctor. I know you guys probably know that. But I'm taking a fastball. I'm squeezing the ball twice as hard. So all of this is I'm recruiting all these muscles, and I'm taking my arm as hard as I can, throwing.
Yeah. So he's shedding a little bit more light into the situation. And I totally get where he's coming from, because it does make it it's different for them to be able to, handle their mechanics when it comes to the baseball.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, and it also prevents them from injury, as we, obviously he stated how he was just sore in places he didn't even know he could be sore. So it just changes the entire dynamic of pitching and for the pitchers as well. So what goes through your mind, Ed, after hearing what Tyler has said in earlier today?
It's unfortunate that happened to Tyler, because now he was diagnosed with a partially torn UCL and a flexor tendon strain. It's crazy, because now all of these pitchers like Tyler, who have been using, like, if he uses the sunscreen and the rosin, or somebody uses this other spider tack, this industrial kind of glue that they're talking about, this other substance that they're using, Joanna, and now they have to quit it cold turkey, quote unquote cold turkey, like Tyler said, then you may see a spike in these kind of injuries, because these pitchers like him were used to using whatever substance that they were using, like him with the rosin and the sunscreen, or another pitcher may use some kind of other substance that would give him an edge as far as trying to get a grip on these newly changed baseballs that you're trying to get a feel for. So I don't think Tyler's going to be the last pitcher that's going to have these injuries, because now they've got to go back to the drawing board and try to get used to a whole new baseball, and they're minus their substances. They're I guess, would you want to say a crutch? Not a crutch, but whatever substance they used to get a better grip on these baseballs.
Yeah. And the thing here is, in my opinion, is that with now removing these substances from being used, there's going to be an increase in injuries, and because we heard it from Tyler. And one of the things too is that our teams are, and this is per Jeff Passan from the ESPN, who stated in the article in the news that was released earlier on how MLB is cracking down on these foreign substances. But the teams are preparing for the pitchers and asking them to go ahead and throw more bullpen sessions. This is to prepare them for that, because now it's going to be more strain in their body, and they're like mentioned just a little bit ago, change their mechanics, change their entire dynamic on how they pitch. They're going to have to grip the ball tighter. We talked about it, probably two shows ago, and even last show, Ed, how the baseball has changed. And that's also one of the things, of the reasons of why pitchers have utilized these substances, is so that they can get a better grip, because they are, of all the way that they feel and all of that, how it also affects their pitching.
It does. Well, until Major League Baseball comes up with a substance, I think they're looking into some kind of legal substance that they can implement for all pitchers across the board that can use this, outside of the stuff that the pitchers were using that were deemed illegal. Until that comes up, then you're right, Joanna, it's going to be this kind of situation, this cold turkey situation like Tyler talked about. And it will come to a situation where you're going to see these pitchers working even harder, as you mentioned, on these bullpen sessions. And they're just going to have to suck it up, knowing that this is the new norm. And if you don't abide by the new norm, these suspensions come up, these 10-day suspensions, and these expulsions, these times where you get thrown out of a baseball game. It's what it is going to be right now until everybody gets a grip on this. And I think a quote unquote grip, right? I had to say grip.
That's a good one. I love it.
Yeah.
And with that note, and still on the subject, and I'm glad our guest is here, Jose Romero, sports writer for the Arizona Republic. I want to go ahead and have him chime in here. Hi, Jose.
Hi.
I want to go ahead and get your thoughts and opinion. It's pretty much the story of the week, and even now the day, how it's overshadowing pretty much everything else with this crackdown on the foreign substances. We just played audio from Tyler Glasnow. I don't know if you had a chance to hear from a press conference earlier today, and what he had to say there. But what are your thoughts, and what do you think of all this?
I think Glasnow raised a pretty good point, where he was talking about how you have to, they should have enforced it, at the beginning of the year, or they should have waited to the end of the year to enforce what they wanted to do. This is something that's been going on forever, right? It's like baseball is that old school sport where someone's always trying to get an edge over somebody else. And, it's whether it's the Astros thing, whether it's, doctoring up the baseball a little bit. I can remember a guy named Phil Niekro, an old pitcher for the Braves. I think he was pitching for the Angels at the time. And they busted him with like a little nail file in his the pocket of his pants.
Back pocket, yes.
It fell out of his pants. The umpires literally came out there because the manager of the other team, and I can't remember who it was, but he comes out and he says, "Hey, he's messing with the ball." So the umpire says to Niekro, "Check it out. Check his pants." So he sticks his hands in his pockets, pulls his pockets out, and the nail file falls out. So he was using the nail file to, sandpaper the baseball. So this is the kind of thing that has been going on for years and years and generations probably. And, I guess I'm kind of glad to see baseball say something about it. But at the same time, I thought Glasnow raised a pretty good point. Look, he's just using sunscreen. If that's all he's doing, let it be okay for everybody until the end of the season, and then you crack down.
Do you guys think with this, and I totally agree in what you said there, Jose, but do you guys think that if it would have been for that breaking story that shed light on all of this, pretty much just like anything else that happens in sports, and especially baseball, because it's the one that typically gets the heat just for pretty much anything, and it's typically negative more than, positive. But I think if it would have been for that this would have, kind of been, just turning the other cheek and ignoring it like they have been with the pine tar, or other things that we know and are aware of in baseball.
Go ahead, Jose.
Oh, baseball is just, I guess it's not really the reason why I watch it. I've loved baseball since I was a kid. Fernando Valenzuela was my hero when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always some drama with baseball. Like there's always something every year. They find something to get, whether it's the balls in the humidor in Coors Field in Colorado that they were, because the balls fly out of there so easily, or if it's cork bats, or it's just something going on it's something every year, right? Like they find something that is controversial every year. And then most recently, of course, we had the Astros banging on trash cans. People, if that's what's going to get people to watch the game, so be it, but they have to regulate that. They can't let stuff like that go. I think the thing that really bothers me about baseball, if there's anything, and I love baseball, but the whole idea of pitchers hitting batters just for revenge. I'm not big on that. That to me is absolutely
dumb. Me neither.
But that's a separate matter in entirety.
And as they always say, any publicity, even bad publicity, is good publicity. If it draws a light to MLB and people say, okay, so what, people that may not have really been interested in baseball, they read that story, they say, okay, let me look and see what's going on over here in baseball. Oh, this is kind of a juicy story. Oh, then they may just actually attract some people that may not even care about baseball. Oh, okay, so these guys could get suspended. These pitchers are using all these substances to try to get a better grip, and some people may look at it, say they're trying to get an advantage over batters, or some batters use pine tar to get a better grip on the baseball, to try to get a better grip on the bat, to maybe at least go match up with a pitcher who may be using that kind of substance.
Yeah, I mean, the pine tar, like I don't know what the controversy would be there, but I mean, I guess guys sometimes let go of the bat and they need better, stickier hands. It's like,
you need a better grip, I guess. Yeah.
Remember that in the NFL, that was back in the day, there was a guy named Lester Hayes, right? Who put
on the Raiders. Yes, sir.
And they were like disgustingly yellow with stickum, and he was just said, I just need this on my hand so I can catch interceptions when they come my way.
Yeah. And Jose, he'd have it all over his entire uniform, on his pads, everywhere. Joanna, this is before both you guys were born. You don't know nothing about that. But that's coming from the old guy in the group.
That's just the way sports is, right? Like everyone's always trying to get an edge somehow, doing something. And baseball is just like the ultimate place. That's where all the little maneuvers happen, the ones that you can visibly see.
Yeah, and it's never going to stop. No matter what you do, there's always going to be something that they're going to get around, find a loophole, or just going to be, something else that's going to come up, and that's going to be the controversy of the year.
Of course.
Yeah. So,
but Joanna and Jose, that's the sport we all know and love, right? We all love baseball with all of its imperfections.
Yeah, we keep coming back. I mean.
It is my first love, and it's always been there for me. Never leaves me, and always there when I need them.
Yeah, it's the pace. I like the pace of the game. I like the fact that you can just kind of sit back in your seat and have something to drink and watch it, and then like all of a sudden things happen. Like you jump right up on your feet when a ball's hit deep into the gap or towards the wall, and it's just one of those things where, like, even in the press box when I'm working, like anything can change at the drop of a hat. And that's, I think, what is the appeal for me, is it's that leisurely sport that can all of a sudden change and get everybody going.
Indeed. One of the many reasons I love baseball. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the NBA, the road to the finals. We're one step closer each day to finding out, who's going to be facing off head to head here in the next couple of weeks or so. But before we can actually get to the finals, we have the conference semifinals, and then going into the conference finals. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off on the East, and then we can go ahead and come out West. And the Philadelphia 76ers and the Atlanta Hawks. Series is tied there 2-2. What is your guys' prediction on here for this series? Will 76ers gonna go ahead and keep up and maintain, some of that tempo and come on top, or you think the Hawks are gonna, turn that over and get some type of advantage there and get 76ers out of the picture?
Mr. Romero.
I mean, for me, like the Hawks are Trae Young. I mean, that's essentially what it comes out. If I'm watching any of those games, I'm watching to see what Trae Young's doing. Period. That first series, when he was messing with the New York Knicks crowd, and he was loving that. And that's the kind of stuff that I tune in for. I want to see what this guy's going to do next. I don't think that Atlanta is going to make it out of that series. I think Philadelphia is ultimately going to be the superior team here. Ben Simmons is – oh, we got a visitor. It's my daughter. Ben Simmons is a really good defender. He's going to lock up.
Hi.
And
Hi.
special guest. So he's going to lock up on Trae Young, and that's going to be a tough win for the Hawks. I think the Sixers just, Joel Embiid, just too much for Atlanta to take at this point. It's been a great run for the Hawks, and I think they have arrived on the scene in the NBA, but it's not their time right now.
And I know that Joel's dealing with a knee injury, and I'm sure I think it really affected him last night in Atlanta when he missed all 12 of his shots in the second half. He went 4 for 20. When's the last time Joel Embiid ever went 4 for 20 in a game and missed 12 straight shots in the second half? Even though he had 21 rebounds, so the Sixers go, of course, where the way Embiid goes, and I just think the Sixers are too big size-wise for them with Ben Simmons trying to cover Trae Young. Trae got his 25 last night, Joanna and Jose, but he worked for it. Ben made him work for it. He was 8 of 26, made 3 of 11 three-pointers. I love the shooters. I love all the talent, all the weapons the Atlanta Hawks have, but can they go up to Philadelphia and win Game 5 like they won Game 1? Can they steal Game 5 and bring it back to Atlanta? If they can do that, then Atlanta has a good possibility of winning this series because they know clearly they can win in Philadelphia. If they win Game 5, they would have won there twice in the series. But I just don't see Joel having another game like that when he misses 12 straight shots in the second half and misses 16 of 20. I think Joel's going to come out and have a big game in Game 5.
Oh, gosh. You're just making me want to go ahead and fast forward to the next game here and start watching.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think?
I think the 76ers are just going to go ahead and come out on top. Yes, it's a tough series, and Atlanta has been a great match for the Sixers. But yeah, come on, number 1 and number 5. I don't know. It's going to be a pretty big upset if the Hawks come back and take over the Sixers.
But Joe,
I see it pretty. Yeah, I'm not saying they're not. Yeah, definitely they are. But that's a like you like to say, Ed. It's a tall order.
It is a very tall order against a tall 76ers basketball team.
Yes.
They're a really big team, and Atlanta can't really match that size.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Yeah, exactly. And then let's go ahead and go on to the Milwaukee Bucks and Brooklyn Nets. They actually are playing as we speak.
Interesting.
I have here about 5 minutes to go, a little bit over 5 minutes, and the Nets are leading 99-98.
Wow.
We have seen since Harden has been out with his injury. Now we have what's it called?
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. Thank you. I spaced there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So they're facing those injuries, and then we've seen how having 2 players down with injuries has affected the Nets. Just as we have with any other team who has, been throughout the transgression of the playoffs, how it's affected them. It's been more of an even matchup between the Nets and the Bucks. The Bucks pretty much almost dominated the last game, and to some aspect. So, and this is pretty close, a 1-point game. So what do we see happening here? Do we see, we heard that James Harden was questionable prior to today's game. He's been having some type of activity, but it's still not enough for the Nets. And of course, KD cannot carry the team. It's a lot for one player, as we have seen in the past, like LeBron with the, when his situations as well, when he's been in the playoffs, to carry a team into, to winning a series and winning a championship. Jose, what are your thoughts on this? What do you see happening here out of this series? They are tied right now 2-2.
Well, if Brooklyn is to get this one today, they're going to need Kyrie back in some fashion to close out. I mean, you know what? Maybe they can get by without him. Because Milwaukee is that team that is a lot is always expected of them. They have Giannis, they have Middleton, they have a good supporting cast. A lot has been expected of the Bucks in the last few years. They've never been able to get over the hump. Brooklyn has the super team, right? They have like the big three. I guess right now it's the big two. The injuries change everything, right? It just changes everything. When Anthony Davis got hurt against the Suns, that changed the series. Even when Chris Paul got hurt, we thought the Suns were doomed, and then Chris Paul came back. So the injury front just messes with everything. The Nuggets didn't have Jamal Murray against the Suns, and we saw what happened there. I mean, Jamal Murray probably would have at least won him a game or two with him there. So this game 5 right here is big because whoever wins this has that luxury of losing another one, and I think that the Nets, if they're going to make this run all the way, they need all three of those guys good to go. If not by a game 7 of this series, then by game 1 of the NBA Finals, the East Finals, NBA Finals, if they can get there.
I agree, Jose. And KD is trying to do his best, to get them, to will them to a victory. It's 101-98. About 4 minutes left. KD's got 43 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. Anybody else really stepping up? Jeff Green really stepped up big tonight so far. 29 minutes off the bench. He's got 24 points. Blake Griffin, big night for him, 17 points. But James Harden, I don't even know why they have him out there. I know why they have him out there as a decoy, because if Kyrie's not there, you've got to have somebody else out there on the court, Jose and Joanna, to help KD out. And James is really hurting more than he's helping. He's 1 of 10 in 42 minutes and missed all 8 of his 3-point shots. He's had 6 rebounds and 7 assists, so he's helped on that aspect. But from a shooting standpoint, man, he's hurting more than he's helping him. And Milwaukee's down 1 point. But you're right. If they're to win this series, they've got to have at least Kyrie to go along with KD. But I don't know how effective James can be the rest of the series if he's going to be like this with that hamstring. I know he's favoring it. He's still concerned because they taped the heck out of his hamstring, as you can see on TV. But oh man, I want James to come back and be the Harden that he was, but it's different when he's got that injury that's been nagging him and he hasn't been out. He's been in for all but 43 seconds of this series, other than tonight. It's hard for a guy to bounce back that quickly when you haven't been in the series.
Yeah, I see it really hard for Harden to be able to maintain or even just stay in the series, especially if he's struggling as much as he is tonight. I don't, who knows the next game, he's going to be extremely hurting after tonight. I understand you want to go ahead and have him out there. Of course, we did see it with Chris Paul and the Suns, with his injury there, and he was able to play through it. Not, each injury is unique to each person. And you said it, Ed, he hasn't been a part, playing in this series. So we have Kyrie. I don't know what's going to happen with the Nets. I would hate to see them out because they are, a powerhouse of a team, and they have been up until just recently. And to see them go out just as they are now, it really, really sucks to see. I would like to see them. There are my prediction for them to go to the finals. It's no secret here. But I do. If they are keep playing the way that they are, I see them going to this series to 7 games.
Good. But they've got to have this game tonight, Jose. They don't want to go to Milwaukee down 3-2 with no you have no idea if Kyrie's going to play in Game 6 or how James will be. Will James even play in Game 6? You have no idea what the health is of 2/3 of your big three. So you got to win this game, as you mentioned, to have a buffer in case you go to Milwaukee and you play flat like you did over the weekend in those 2 games in Milwaukee when you didn't even score 100 points back-to-back for the first time all year.
No, and the worst of it all, still don't know how long Kyrie is going to be out. You know, he has a sprained ankle, and oh my gosh, I don't know if you got to see that video after all, Ed.
Yes.
Also, I'm pretty sure that you did see it, but just seeing it, oh my gosh, just brought back, you know, how PTSD from when I sprained my ankle. Pretty much, you know, the same way that, you know, how he felt is how I felt, and I totally feel for him. And I don't know that, you know, he's going to be back anytime soon.
Mm.
Ankles are tough. Ankles
Yes.
are really difficult, and you need those limbs in the NBA. You got to be running full speed.
Yes. And especially the way he landed on the ankle and the way it twisted, I was like, oh my gosh, he's not gonna be playing anytime soon. Not on that.
And that's the risk that these teams run, right? I mean, Steve Nash, you know, the GM over there, they made a huge trade to get James Harden. You know, they had Kyrie and Durant. You know, these super teams, the idea of these super teams winning it all. You know, that's the risk you run. If you have an injury somewhere in that big three, it diminishes your chances quite a bit.
Oh, man. 2 minutes left. It's 104. Oh, this thing's coming down to the wire. Oh, goodness. Of course it would, right? Giannis has got 32. Middleton's got 25. Guys stepping up in Game 5.
Weren't they down by like 16 or 18 too? They were down by 16.
Down like 16 at half, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, a little bit over 2 minutes left in the game, and right now they are tied of 104.
Oh,
so we'll keep an eye on this game as it, you know, comes down to the last second and see who comes out the winner. But you know, who knows? Maybe we might see overtime.
That'd be awesome. Overtime in the playoffs? Yes.
The New Jersey Nets.
Yes. Extra playoff basketball action? Sure.
Hey, I wouldn't expect anything less from seeing, you know, the way that these two have been playing, and you know, everything that's the way it's turning out for each of these, you know, each team, especially the Nets. But we'll come back to them in a moment. So let's go ahead and go on west to the Wild Wild West, and we have spoke about this on Saturday, Ed. We have the Phoenix Suns who swept the Denver Nuggets. So we touched on it a little bit. We were hoping that would be the case, and it definitely did. That was roller coaster of a game. I don't know. I was kind of watching it like a scary movie. You know, you just kind of like put your hands in front of your face, and you don't want to look, and you're scared to look, and then that was me the entire, you know, part of the game.
Joe, that's your entire MO for every Suns game you watch, not just Game 4, not just the closeout game.
Well, the last few games have been a little bit better, but you know, Sunday's game was a little bit tougher to watch. But
that was crazy. So Jose, so Booker and CP get 71 points in the closeout game, and Books in the closeout game against the Lakers and Denver 81 points in those two closeout games. How much more can Book step up and carry this basketball team outside of Chris Paul and everybody else? Great games for that young man.
You just have to be so happy for him, because like he's been waiting for this since he's been here. He has gone through so much crap to see how bad this team has been, and to suddenly here and then carry it over into this season. I mean, if there was one guy anywhere in the NBA in sports that you should be happy for, it's Devin Booker. He has paid his dues. He's stayed loyal. He's here. He signed a big contract to stay here for a while. And, you know, he's getting his chance on the big stage to show how good he really is. And I think back to that. I think it was in the off season where there was a video of him in a scrimmage or playing some pickup ball, and he was getting double teamed. He said, "We don't double team he said on the video, we don't double team in a pickup game. What are you guys doing?" You know, so then people got on him, right? Like, "Oh, Book, why are you crying, man? Just deal with the double team. You know, you're a professional player." But now you see like what he's talking, where he's coming from. It's like people take shots at him for speaking his mind about being double teamed in a pickup game, but that's the competitive nature that he has, like, you know, and it's coming out. I mean, it is coming out full force. I loved when he stood up for Cameron Payne the other night when Jokic knocked him down, you know, swiped at him with the arm. You know, I thought the double technical or the ejection was a little too excessive. Nevertheless, Devin Booker was the first guy to jump in there and say, hey, leave my guy alone. That's my guy. That's my teammate. That's a leader. And that is the cornerstone of the franchise that we have here. And having Chris Paul obviously is monumental to their success. But it's a guy like Booker, you know, as Ed, you were talking about, you know, you just have to be thrilled to see what he's doing on this level and to know that he's going to get a chance to play, you know, for the NBA Finals. It's any young guy's dream come true that plays in the NBA, that loves basketball.
And Jose, you mentioned the amount of that word that you said that Devin Booker has suffered over 6 years. That's the C word the CRAP word. Let's talk about DeAndre Ayton in the 2 or 3 in the years he's been here, in the shorter amount of time he's been in Phoenix. How much more of that stuff has he went through? And it's got to be, it's so gratifying to see DeAndre step up in his very first 2 playoff series as a professional and just step up. I mean, he's playing like he did down at U of A. Okay, you know, because you know remember how dominant he was down there in Tucson. I mean, he's stepping it up just like he was down there.
It's just a team you love to get behind because, you know, they've been down for so long and now they finally have the right coach. You know, they have the right people in place. They pressed all the right buttons this year. They've avoided major injury. You know, even a Dario Saric coming in and giving him quality minutes off the bench. Just it seems whatever button Monty Williams pushes, it works. And it's funny that Joanna, you were talking about how you were watching that game with kind of your eyes closed, and I'm sitting there the whole time thinking, I mean, it's just a matter of time before the Suns flip the switch and blow these fools out of the water. And that is basically what happened until that last game, right? Like when the Nuggets actually showed some fighting spirit and you know, made it a game. Mm-hmm. But look at the way the Suns have been winning these games, just blowout after blowout, like big third quarter, big fourth quarter, taking over. Yeah. It's just, you're sitting there wondering, how long can this last? Or can it last? Can it last for like 8 more wins or whatever they need to win a title?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering, can they have sustained that kind of success in the Western Conference Finals? Like you said, Jose, will they have those kind of blowouts in that series, whether it's against Utah or the Clippers? And if they make it past there or make it to the NBA Finals, whoever they face, could they have those kind of games in the NBA Finals? I guess only time will tell that, but it has been incredible to watch this team on this 7-game winning streak. The way, you're right, Jose, the way they've been handling these basketball teams, it's just incredible to watch. I just sit there in amazement, like, are they really doing this? Is this really happening? Yeah. This is the Phoenix Suns just blowing out the Lakers, blowing out the Denver Nuggets. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is the same team I used to take my son to see for $8 tickets in the upper deck, you know, like 2 years ago. And now, you know, bam, they're huge. They're the toast of the NBA.
Yeah. And with that note, Jose, I want to say too, going back to the bubble, they were 8-0, and this is something that has been topic of conversation. And, you know, even earlier in the season too, Ed and I have covered it, you know, time and time again, and I mentioned it, and I'll just go ahead and bring it up here. Like you mentioned, you know, the team that they were 2 years ago, and then, you know, they started to become the team that we knew they could be, you know, last year in the bubble. Now fast forward to this year and to now, because the Suns were not given enough credit. They were not expected for many to go as far as they have been. And they're still not expected for many to go as far as the finals. And they were not getting the attention, the recognition that we thought that they should receive. And it's still, to some extent, I think there's still, you know, a lack thereof in some aspects of it. But, you know, a lot of people slept on the Suns. Many basketball fans slept on them. And now they're seeing, wow, like this is actually a team, and like they're for real. So yeah, go ahead, Jose.
I can't even argue with. I mean, you know, what did we see at the airport the other night? You know, hundreds of people waiting for them to come home from a Western Conference second round series. in the darkness and the heat. And this is a Suns town through and through. Make no mistake. Everybody loves the NFL, and the NFL is big in every city, huge. But at the core, at this city's core, and I've lived here for 11 years, I can feel that the Suns are that original pro franchise, the one that everybody loves and gets behind, and all the longtime residents, that's the original team, and you never kind of lose that first love, right?
That's right.
So for those people, for the longtime Valley natives like my wife, who's a huge Suns fan and is getting into this series like you wouldn't believe, this is a beautiful thing to watch because they're finally getting validated for all the support that they've had over the years and all the times they've come up short. Maybe it's their time.
Yeah. And, like they say, and I'm going to say it because it's something that you haven't really heard of at least too often recently and until probably now, and at least for me in the last couple of days. And it kind of, with what you just mentioned, Jose, like going back to me growing up, like this is a Planet Orange. We are Planet Orange. And it's something I hadn't heard anyone say in a while. And that's the Phoenix Suns. And the team that I kind of grew into sports and what brought me there were the Phoenix Suns as a little girl, and seeing them in their arena that they had, a small little arena before they got, the Suns arena, and they've had many upgrades. But prior to that, yes, and you're right. This is, a Suns town, orange bleeding through and through. Yes, you have baseball, you have the Diamondbacks that came later. Yes, they have the Arizona Cardinals for the NFL. But nothing like basketball, because we know when basketball is, your hype, it's, everyone shows it up, and there's just, I don't know, nothing like it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, okay, so let's go ahead and did you want to chime in, Ed, before I go
I was just going to say the excitement that we've seen in this city and what we felt in that Lakers series, in the Denver series, that stuff will not compare to the Western Conference Finals. And just we pray they make it to the NBA Finals. This city will they'll go nuclear if this team makes it to the NBA Finals, a place they haven't been since 1993.
Yep.
True.
I will cry.
I may cry.
I will cry. I almost cried. I'm not gonna lie. I almost, did shed a tear or two on Sunday, but I'm like, no, hold it for when it, when they go to the finals.
Yeah.
It counted, but I'm just like, let's just save that for the time being.
Save the tears for when they hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy.
Yes,
we don't
we're going to manifest it into reality. We are.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But before they can do that, they actually have to, one, know who they're going to be facing off in the Western Conference Finals, and that's going to be between the winner of the Utah Jazz and the LA Clippers, which right now that series as well is tied as the other two. So, Jose, who would the Phoenix Suns be better off facing out of these two? That's the popular question that I ask every single person who we've talked to, be going into the Western Conference Finals. Who would be the best match for the Suns?
Well, I think conventional wisdom says it's the lower seeded team, right? The Clippers. But going against the conventional wisdom, I think the Jazz is probably the team they might want to face. I mean, I think in the regular season they were, they were 3-0 against the Jazz. I believe they were 3-0.
Yes,
that's a team that they've matched up well against and can handle. They might not have had Donovan Mitchell for one of those games or whatever, and we all know that Donovan Mitchell is a supreme talent. But that's Utah's another team that really hasn't been there. Utah hasn't made this much noise either, right? Not in a long time. So when you're matching up two teams that are in that position, the talent, the coaching, whatever, that's what wins it. And I think the Suns would have the advantage there. So I would say that the Clippers is probably the team they don't want to face, because the Clippers can throw, Kawhi Leonard, who's a NBA Finals tested guy. He's got a ring. They've got Paul George, who's been in a lot of playoffs. There's good talent there. There's good depth there. And I think the Clippers might be that team that is just, if they get hot here and finish off the Jazz here in a couple games, that's maybe the tougher matchup for the Suns.
I agree. And if you've got Kawhi and Paul George playing like they did last night, when they both scored 31 apiece, they scored 62 of their 118 against Utah. That's a hard team to beat. But what team are you going to get in Game 5 when they go back to Salt Lake, Jose and Joanna? Are you going to get this Kawhi and this PG, or are you going to get playoff P that decides not to show up and he'll shoot 4 for 20 in a game, and then they're back to the same old Paul George, who's going to get criticized because he's so Jekyll and Hyde with his playoff play. But if you get a guy like that, if you get Marcus Morris scoring 24 points like he did last night, that's not even to mention Reggie Jackson and Nicholas Batum and Terrence Mann coming off the bench. That's a very deep basketball team. So yeah, on the best day that the Clippers are playing, I would not want the Suns to face them. I'd rather them face the Utah Jazz. No disrespect to Utah, but that Clippers team is loaded. Not to say that Utah's not, but it's a different loaded.
With Utah, I think that Phoenix Suns, they know what they can expect and how they can go ahead and face them a little bit more than with the Clippers. Like you said, Jekyll and Hyde, they're inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get. Yes, there are advantages, but there are also disadvantages there. And I think with that, Utah would be they're a little bit more evenly matched up too against the Suns. But I think that would be the best option for the Suns to face off going into the Western Conference Finals.
And Jose, does it matter that even if they face Utah, they'd have to go? The Jazz would have the home court advantage, even though the Suns were one of the best road teams during the regular season. Or would it matter? Or would you say let's take on the Clippers because the Suns would have the home court advantage? I don't think that really makes a difference because they can win anywhere.
No, I don't think it matters at all. I mean, we've seen both the Jazz and Clippers stumble at home. Who was Utah's first round opponent? Memphis, right? Memphis.
They lost Game 1. Yes.
Yeah, Memphis rocked them in Game 1. So, I just see that. I don't see the home court advantage as having a bigger deal. If anybody has the home court advantage, it's going to be the Suns. They have played exceptionally well at home. Lost one playoff game at home to the Lakers, but that was a close game. And it's great. The thing I really like about all this is that you're going to have one of 3 teams that has no history at all of being in the NBA Finals, like a very small, minor history of being in the NBA Finals, if at all. The Clippers, the Jazz, Suns. Someone's different is coming out of the West this year, and that's a beautiful thing. I love it.
And what was also beautiful, Jose, was the amount of fans that were in Denver for Game 4 in that closeout game when CP3 came out for that interview, and he was like, dude, we came out for warm-ups. We thought we were at Phoenix Suns Arena. All these Suns fans they were in the house and they were rocking. That was a beautiful sight to see in Denver.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think it's going to happen with going to Utah because we've seen how well they've traveled even with LA, and you can just even through the TV screen, when you're watching the games, you can feel that energy, those Suns fans, and like Chris Paul said, he has not been with the team who has, traveled so well, and the way that the fans, are just there for the team, whether that's, at home or in the road. And I think, that's one thing that with the Suns, they have an advantage of. Doesn't matter who they play, where it is that they go, they will have that support from the Suns. And I think that's, another plus for them.
Mm-hmm. Guys, let me jump in real quick. So we got a final in Brooklyn. Brooklyn wins 114-108. So they go up 3-2 in the series. KD, 49 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists. Triple-double for that man. Now they go to Brooklyn up. They go to Milwaukee up 3-2.
Yes. So see if they can go ahead and close it out in Milwaukee, and at least they'll have some rest in between there, and then see what happens with James Harden, and get some more news on Kyrie and how that progresses.
Yeah, but that's a win they definitely had to have going to Milwaukee with their health questions.
Mm-hmm. Well, one last thing of here that I want to go ahead and bring up, talking NBA and talking injuries, as we did at the beginning of the segment. We have a few more minutes left, but I want to go ahead and just kind of bring this topic of conversation and how we have seen all these injuries. And I think it's the most, at least in my recollection, the most injuries I've seen in the playoffs. We've seen at least 77 NBA All-Stars miss at least one game. And, we also were witness of how short of a turnaround from the bubble to starting this season, which we had previously talked about, Ed, and when this was occurring, when we found out how quick that turnaround time was going to be, and the possibility of increased injuries with the players, and that's something that we're seeing now. Is it a cause of them having to push themselves more, having a short rest period, their body's not kind of up to that type of consistent play? They're asking more of their bodies. What is the cause here? Is that could probably be one of the things. It has been one of the most exciting NBA playoffs that I've seen. And like you mentioned, Jose, these 8 teams that remain, none of them have been to an NBA Finals in over 30 years. So, which makes it even more exciting. We're going to see someone different on each side who hasn't been, at least recently, if any, experience in the finals. So, but just to add to this is another side of it that we're also getting to see. What are your thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Jose.
I think that the shortened schedule, the condensed schedule, has a little something to do with it. I think, wouldn't we start back in like around Christmas time, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And usually the NBA season is going in October, or late October, early November. They compressed a lot of things into a shorter amount of time. I know that the NBA Finals will be in July, right? That we'll probably be playing into July, but still, a few more back-to-backs, maybe a few more games where you only get 1 day of rest, and all of a sudden, and you only have 72 games, but it's all kind of compacted into a shorter time frame, and that's tough. That's tough on a body, on anybody. I can just use my own experience covering the Coyotes. I mean, this was a team that was set up and primed to be get a last spot in the playoffs, in April, and then it all kind of crashed down on them in May because they had guys get hurt. And those guys were healthy earlier in the season. They lost some key players. They fizzled down the stretch. They lost a lot of games they probably should have won. And in the end, they got eliminated from playoff contention. So I'd kind of look at that and compare it to what's happened in the NBA, where guys are getting hurt. And it's one of those things where when you don't have that time between games that you normally would have over a regular season, a regular time of the season, bodies react different.
I agree. It's tough when the NBA Finals ends on October 11th and you're asking these players to come back around Christmas time and start back up again just in a matter of months, as opposed, and they're clearly not used to having that short of a time of a vacation to get their bodies ready and get their minds ready for a shortened season, 72 games, where everything, as you mentioned, Jose, everything's really smashed and compressed because you're 10 games down. And now you're asking the players who have only had like 2 months off to rest their bodies, who went through an 82-game season and a bubble situation, to come back and do this thing all over again at the highest level that you can play of basketball. It's hard to ask these multi-million-dollar athletes to do that, like a LeBron James, who's in his 18th season, for him to come back and do what he was trying to do to repeat as champions. That's just one example. It really is hard, but that's just part of the situation. And none of these men on any of these 8 teams right now are going to complain at all, saying, oh my gosh, I'm hurt. And, they suck it up because it's the playoffs. They're all fighting for one goal, to be world champions. Whatever injuries you have, you suck it up. Like James Harden tonight. He didn't play well, but he was out there. He gave 40 plus minutes of action. He did what he could with a bum hamstring. But he didn't get down on himself and say, oh, woe is me, I don't think I'm going to go out and play game 5. Yes, he did play in game 5. He wasn't that effective from a scoring standpoint, but he's a professional. He's a man, and he lived up to his responsibilities, and that's just part of the territory. Those guys get paid a lot of money to play basketball and entertain us, and they've got to do it through injuries. It comes with the territory, part of the job.
Yeah. And the thing that I will go ahead and end with here is my thoughts is looking ahead into the next season, because we have, like you said, Jose, the NBA Finals wrapping up sometime, in the first part of July. And at that, right now we're heading into summer. We have summer league that typically happens, and you have all that occurs, the preseason and everything, which then typically kicks up the season around, I want to say September, August, September. So we're ending the season the finals in July. Now, how, do they have to go ahead and face that once again, a shortened time off, so they can go ahead and kick the season off somewhat to a regular schedule, even if they push it back some? And then now that's going to be go ahead and for them, the players to be prone to maybe or be susceptible to more injury. You know, do you have to give these? I understand, you know, yes, you also have to remain active and play and keep your body, you know, your body's agile and moving and in shape. But you also need to give these guys rest, because we're seeing the effect of that. You know, like you said, they're not complaining and they're going for a championship, and this is what they want. They'll do. We saw, you know, James Harden tonight, you know, Chris Paul with the Suns, and trying to work through those injuries to go ahead and come on top and hoist that, you know, finals trophy. But, you know, it also, you know, kind of have to have your rest and be able to, in order for you to be able to perform better, you also need to rest your bodies. So that's the one thing that I'm going into the following season and looking ahead, how NBA is going to go ahead and have that happen here for the upcoming season. And of course, that's still left to be known in how that what the result would be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is so condensed and just compressed. I mean, I'm on NBA.com. I look at the key dates: August 8th through the 17th. That's when the summer league starts. That's right around the corner. They've got to turn this thing around and get it right back. They got to rev it right back up again, guys. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, the pandemic just changed everything, pushed everything back, pushed everything forward, and you know, and you have to understand. I mean, that we're going to be dealing in the sports world. We're going to be dealing with the repercussions of that for not a season like we did this year, but probably another season. You know, it's going to change now. You know, from what I understand with the Coyotes in the NHL, they want to start on time this year. You know, they want to start in October. I don't really see how that's going to happen, based on the fact that we're in June and they are in the conference or in the conference finals right now. So they're barely like one series ahead of the NBA. So I really don't know how that's going to go down, but I think the goal is they want to start on time and try to get it back to an 82 game schedule, just like the NBA. And it's hard to imagine that. It's hard to imagine. You know, I think maybe we have another year of, you know, just finagling the schedule a little bit more to give people a little bit more rest. And then maybe in 22, 23, we can get everything back on a normal calendar. But, you know, who knows? Money is involved here, guys, right? Money is involved.
Money talks.
Absolutely.
There's money involved. The more games and home dates and road dates you have, you know, that's what's going to bring revenue, the needed revenue that these teams really want to have. And it's all about schedule. It's all about games. And that's what they want.
Of course, as great as the play-in tournament was for the NBA, and it was great, you talk about the more games, Jose, that's more money. The more teams you can get on there, the more games you can get on TV and more eyes watching, that's more money for the league. They really pressed to get that All-Star game in, the NBA All-Star game, because that got them what? Revenue, millions of dollars that they had lost during the pandemic. They lost at least $1 billion because of the pandemic. So they've got to find some way to recoup that money. And what better way to do it than a play-in tournament, an all-star game? Hopefully all these series being extended, that's more TV time. That's more commercials and people watching and people buying merchandise and people coming to the games. Now that they've got fans back in, that's more money coming back to the league and to the teams.
Exactly.
And it's also great to have the fans back. It is so exciting, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
definitely. You took the words out of my mouth, Ed, literally. So.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So all I was just gonna say is, you know, we've seen it with how this with the playoffs. Each city has been a little differently, but we've seen those fans pouring back in, selling out the tickets. You know, we saw it here at the Phoenix Suns Arena, sold out crowds, and you know, seeing that revenue come in. You know, sponsorships on TV and so forth. Right. You know. Revving up those ratings as well. So, of course, yes, money talks, and it's all going to be revolving around the money. And we'll just have to wait and see what's going to go ahead and how this is going to unfold, and how the NBA and other leagues decide to go ahead and proceed with these shortened and condensed and, you know, just revved up seasons as we have seen. So, But with that, that does wrap up our show. Jose, before we go, I want to go ahead and have our listeners and our viewers go ahead and let them know where they can go ahead and find you and where they can find your work.
You can find me on the website azcentral.com. I write for the Arizona Republic now. I just got my full-time job back in September. Long story short, after a
Congratulations,
long
brother.
time of freelancing, I got back into the game full-time, and it's been wonderful. I'm writing about tons of different things. I covered UFC last weekend. I did a Suns story the other night. It's just been it's been a good time. But bottom line, azcentral.com, Twitter at Romero Jose M, and that's it.
Congratulations, brother. That's great. You got your full-time gig back.
Oh man, I tell you what, man, with my crazy kids, I got to feed them. So
Yeah.
Yeah. You have twins too, right?
Yeah.
I gotta have I gotta keep their energy is off the charts. I'm telling you. So I gotta keep working. I gotta keep hustling because they're making me run around and chase them all the time.
Yeah, man. I remember those days when my sons were the size of your kids. Those are some crazy times, but it was fun. But they keep you on your toes. You're right. They run you 24/7.
Absolutely. I'm I'm feeling it for sure.
Definitely.
Oh man.
And then, of course, just to let our listeners know, we do have with Inside Sports Network, we do have a Spanish sports podcast called Punto Deportivo, which, of course, this weekend and this Saturday, Jose Romero will be my special guest. So we'll be talking some sports. Yes, Selección Mexicana. And we'll be talking talking up some sports on Saturday in Spanish. So, of course, definitely tune in and check us out there. But before we go ahead and close out, Ed, go ahead and let our listeners know where they can go ahead and find you.
Yes, ma'am. On Twitter at EdCole43, Instagram at EdwardCole301. Of course, right here on Inside Sports Talk, on Facebook at Edward Cole, and on PLR show, The Sports Cave. Is that too many avenues? I don't think so.
I don't know if that's enough.
That's not enough.
Hey, Ed, you're doing the football thing too, right? You're doing the indoor football.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the color analyst for the Northern Arizona Wranglers, the newest indoor football league team.
Beautiful. That's great. That's right up your alley. Awesome.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm having a blast with that.
Too much fun, I think.
Yes. It's never too much fun.
And of course, you can find me, Joanna Rosalí, on both Instagram and Twitter at JRosalí. That's JROSALYE. Of course, Inside Sports Talk or Inside Sports Network. You can go ahead and find us on Instagram at Inside Sports Net, on Twitter at Inside Sports with an extra S at the end. And make sure you follow us and download from wherever it is that you do listen to podcasts. And with that, we leave you. Thank you. Good night. And until next time, this was Inside Sports Talk.